Okay, what branch of the service were you in?
I was in the United States Navy.
And what war or campaign were you with?
I was in the Navy during the Vietnam War. I was actually in the Vietnam campaign.
And what was your rank?
My rank was Navy Lieutenant, which would be the equivalent of Army Captain or Air Force Captain.
And where did you serve?
I served primarily in Vietnam, but I also served time in Vallejo, California, and in Davisville, Rhode Island.
Where in Vietnam were you stationed?
I was stationed at a base called Chulai, C-H-U-L-A-I, about 30 miles south of Da Nang.
Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, you have a map of that.
I have a map right here, yes. I can show it to you later.
Okay, we'll look at that later. Okay, were you drafted or did you enlist?
Well, officers never get drafted. Officers have to enlist, and officers are commissioned. They're offered a commission. If you don't accept their commission and the draft is going on, you'll be drafted.
Okay, where did you live at that time?
I was living in New York City. When I was offered my commission, I was in my first year residency at VA Hospital in Manhattan. I received a letter at the end of March in 1966 saying if you don't accept the commission on April 1st or about then, you would be subject to be drafted, because I had already given a deferment.
So that would be why you joined?
That's why, I accepted the commission.
Okay.
I wanted to fulfill my obligation anyway, but I was hoping I'd finish my first year of surgery before I did it, but I went in.
Okay, and why did you pick the Navy?
I always liked the Navy for some reason. My brother Ralph was in the Navy in World War II, and growing up as a kid, I always thought it was a little more romantic, or whatever word you want to use.
Okay. And when you enlisted, what rank were you at?
Well, I didn't. I was commissioned.
You were commissioned?
Commissioned lieutenant.
Lieutenant. And do you recall your first days in the service?
My first days were, exciting because everything was brand new to me. I went out to Rhode Island, Davisville, Rhode Island, was shown the clinic, met the other officers in Rhode Island, and I was told, a funny incident, I was told, pick up your paycheck from CB, no, not CB Land, everything in Navy was abbreviated, CB Land, Antarctica, all this business. So I said, they said, you get your pay from Umfleet. Umfleet, I said, okay. I figured that was an abbreviation for something. So I went all over asking all the people around, where is Umfleet? What does Umfleet stand for? I never heard of that one. Then I found out Umfleet was the fellow in the battalion who was in charge of the pay. So that was his name, Umfleet.
Okay, what did it feel like when your first days of enlistment, did you go to boot camp, I'm assuming?
Well, an officer doesn't really go to boot camp, especially a medical officer. But before we went to Vietnam, we were in Davisville for approximately 4 months, from April to August of 1966. During that 4 months, we took time out to go to No Man's Land, which was an island off Massachusetts, to do some training. Then we went down to Camp Lejeune with the Marines to do 6 weeks more training. Then we went to Vietnam.
Okay, and how differently were you treated from the regular enlisted
as an
men?
officer, first of all, the officers don't have to do many of the things the enlisted men do. But I tried to do a few things, and the drill sergeant said, Doc, please don't, you're going to get hurt, don't do anything. So I did very little.
Do you remember any of your instructors?
Well, I remember, I have fond memories of them, but I don't know any of them by name.
And how did you manage to get through all this?
Very, very hard work. I mean, I fulfilled all my obligations, crawled under the, no, I'm only kidding. I did very little. I did my medical duties, and that was it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you again, which war campaign did you serve in?
Well, as I said, it was during the Vietnam War, and I served in Vietnam.
Okay, what was the purpose of your unit?
Well, my primary duty was medical officer for MCB 40 battalion. A CB battalion, as you know, is a construction battalion, a Navy construction battalion. They build airfields, build, bases for the Navy. And I was a medical officer for the MCB 40, Mobile Construction Battalion 40. CB is also a construction battalion, but it's also a CB. That's a symbol, a CB. And I was stationed with them.
And where exactly did you go?
When I was
in Vietnam?
I went to Chulai, a place called Chulai, C-H-U-L-A-I, about 35 miles south of Da Nang, approximately that.
Okay, I know the answer to this, but we'll ask anyhow. What was your assignment there?
Well, I was a medical officer, of course. and I was assigned to my battalion. But I also, they had a the 1st Marine Division was right down the road from us. And they had a hospital down there, and I fulfilled some obligations at that hospital as well.
Okay, and did you have any interaction with the natives?
When you say natives, you mean the Vietnamese people?
The civilians?
Oh yeah, well we went to, we had what they call a civic action program. 2 or 3 days a week we went into these hamlets and treated the people, vaccinated people, treated common colds and rashes and everything else. I picked up a case of plague when I was over there. I actually got a plaque that I picked up a case of plague. Well, actually, I saw it was a very unusual case, and I sent it to the hospital. It turned out to be plague.
Okay, did you form any friendships with the civilians that you treated?
Oh yeah, very often, they'd look forward to our coming, especially the kids. When they'd say it's coming, Bakshi, that's doctor in Vietnamese. They were always looking for toys or lollipops and everything. We gave it to them.
Okay, did you see any combat?
Well, when you say combat, being a medical officer, I didn't actually pick up a gun and do anything in combat, but I saw combat in the sense that, I saw wounded people coming in, and you could see the rockets and the bombers, and actually could see flares, and we were mortared very often at night. We had to get out of bed and jump in the foxholes, because we were mortared from neighboring hamlets. The very same hamlets where we went to treat people. At night, they'd be mortaring us. Now, I assume it wasn't the same people. Viet Cong probably came in. It wasn't a typical war, because the Viet Cong would come and go, and you never knew what was out there.
So
And no one knew anything. You asked, who was here last night? Oh, no one knew anything.
So you saw the aftermath of the combat?
Oh, yeah, right. I saw the actual combat. I mean, you can actually see, if you see mortars coming in, that's actually seeing combat. But I never saw anybody actually get killed. But I saw them brought in by helicopter. If you've ever seen MASH, that was very much what we were. It wasn't the MASH's army. We were Marine. We were Navy and Marine. But it was a similar thing. They radio ahead. We have a helicopter coming in, 5 wounded, being ready, and we're ready for them.
While you were in Vietnam, the primary recipients of your skill, was it the military or the civilians?
Well, primarily military. See, I was a medical officer for my battalion, and for the the wounded people coming in.
So you had more interaction with the military?
Yeah, military. Yeah, we went to civic action. I mean, that was like a sideline to get goodwill of the people, and that was not our primary duty.
Okay, tell me about your most memorable experiences while you were in Chulai.
Well, probably my most memorable experience was seeing a fellow doctor killed. A Korean doctor whom I visited, 3 days later, helicopter said, wounded Koreans coming in, base was overrun. They were only about a few miles south of us, maybe less than 20 miles. And I visited them, Dr. Lee and Dr. Kim. They treated me like a king. And they came and I figured I'd see some Korean soldiers there. And Dr. Lee was shot through the head. He was killed. They had been overrun. Made you realize everybody was in danger over at Vietnam. It wasn't the typical war.
Were you a prisoner of war?
Oh, no. We had prisoners of war in our base, but I was never a prisoner of war. We had Viet Cong in little cages in our base.
And the Americans treated them well?
Oh, we treated them well, sure. They were behind bars and they wanted to get out, but, we treated them well. They were only there temporarily, then they take them away. I don't know where they took them.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yeah, I was looking at my discharge page. I never was much for medals, so I knew I had 4 medals when I was in there, but my discharge paper says only 3 here. So they don't have the good conduct medal, so I guess that's the one they left off. They have 3 listed, not counting good conduct medal. So I guess officially I had 3, maybe they don't count the good conduct medal.
So I see you put together a little notebook of a few pictures and some documents.
I have a notebook here. Well, preparing for this interview, I figured you'd like some pictures of my Vietnam experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have quite a few here.
And we will look at those hopefully before the end of the interview.
Okay.
Okay, were you ever asked to do any planning for the battles or make plans or
Of course,
for
being
when
a
the
medical
people were
officer.
coming in, if there was a battle?
No,
were you
of course,
informed?
being a medical officer, you don't do any planning for battles. That's all the line officers, the people from Annapolis and regular.
Well, let me restate that.
Okay.
Did you make plans, if there was a campaign that you knew of, were you able to set up at the clinic or the hospital
Well, see,
in readiness?
I was low man on the totem pole at the hospital, at the Marine Hospital, because I only had not even a complete 1-year surgical training at the time. And I go down and help out as much as I can, take some shrapnel pieces out and some debridement. But actually, the big jobs are done by the fellows who are completely trained at the time. So I was low man on the totem pole at the hospital. At my own base, of course, it was my own clinic.
Okay,
And of course, I always planned everything for my own men. We had office hours every day for, the men coming in.
how did you stay in touch with people back in the States?
Well, by letters. Back then, there were no computers, of course. It was way back in 1966, 68. We got letters. Mail call twice a week. We looked forward to the mail.
Okay, so you didn't utilize the telephone? They didn't have
No,
those.
there were no telephones. I mean, there might have been telephones. We had telephones for the base, but I never remember making a long-distance telephone call from the base to America.
So-
I don't know if it was possible to do that at the time, but maybe it was. I never did that.
So it was primarily through the mail service that you kept in contact?
Letters, yeah. We had mail call, and we looked forward to the letters. I had a sister who wrote to me almost every day, and I looked forward to them.
And did these letters make you feel more connected
Oh,
to your
sure.
family?
There were always little things like Ma's feeling well, or we had such and such for dinner last night, or we had a dog named Pal, and they talk about Pal, and the different things.
Okay, what was the food like in July?
The food was American food, typical of food you'd get in a good restaurant here in America. I mean, we didn't suffer at all. Well, I'm talking about us now, the CB battalion. I'm not talking about the poor Marines out in the field. I'm talking about us in the CB battalion where we came back each day. The CBs came back each day after constructing things, and they ate in a mess hall, and we had an officer's mess hall. So it wasn't very much unlike eating here in America on a basis. And we had good food.
Was there a difference between the construction crews and the medical officers?
Well, the medical officers, of course, there's always the construction crews were
With the eating?
with
the
eating.
food.
Yeah, I think the officers got a little better food, truthfully. I'm not sure, but I think we did. At any rate, we had better service. We had stewards waiting on us. But I think we got pretty much the same food. I'm not sure.
Okay, and were there ample supplies for the construction?
Oh, sure. CB units had all kinds of good equipment, and all kinds of supplies. They could move a whole mountain in no time. It was incredible what they did. Big equipment, heavy equipment, and all kinds of lumber. Mahogany over there. Mahogany over there was like pine here. Everything was mahogany. I guess in the Orient, plenty of mahogany.
And what about the medical supplies? Did you have sufficient vaccines?
No
for-
shortages at all. Anything we wanted, we received immediately.
Okay, did you feel any stress or pressure being a physician over there?
No, I enjoyed it. I was doing there what I would do here. And I actually volunteered to go to Vietnam. After I accepted my commission, they said, would you like to go to Vietnam? I said, sure. I'd rather go to Vietnam than go to Kansas or Missouri or somewhere. And I went over there.
Okay, how did you feel if a soldier was lost in the hospital?
Well, you always felt bad,
Or he died in the hospital?
Yeah, it was always bad. They were always young, of course, 19, 20. And I'd always say to myself, some poor family now, they have no idea what they're going to be hearing in 2 or 3 days. That always went through my mind for some reason. I'd look at the guy and I'd say, some family just lost something so valuable here. And, of course, when you're over there, it's a different world. You don't feel the same as you would here. Like here, when I see an accident, it's so traumatic. But over there, I mean, that's part of the game, and these things are expected.
Was it part of your responsibility to write letters to families who
No,
lost
I never.
someone?
Of course, if I had lost anybody in my battalion, I probably would. But we didn't lose anybody. So I never had to write a letter for anybody.
Was there anything special that you did for good luck at the beginning or the end of the day or any time during
Well, if
the
you
day?
call praying for good luck, that's what I did. But I had no rabbit foot or anything like that. I didn't have any jujus or whatever you want to call those.
If I'm not mistaken, you had a good basis for praying.
Oh yeah, I was a seminarian. Before I went to medical school, I was in the seminary for many years. And then I left, took pre-med, went to medical school.
How many?
I have a Master of Arts degree in theology. But,
How many years were you in the seminary?
oh, what is it, many years? Let's see. After high school, I went to pre-med, or pre-seminary high school, so I'm not counting that, but after high school, about 7 years.
And
I
you
was
feel that
only a year
that's
away from being ordained.
1 year from being ordained?
1 year from being ordained, yeah.
And do you feel that served you in the medical profession?
Well, it's all part of the life, it's part of your training, part of what you are, what makes you what you are.
How do people entertain themselves over there in July?
You know, you just, first of all, during the day you're busy, men were busy working on their construction. At night, I'm speaking for myself, the officers club, we had because we had a CB battalion, we had a beautiful officers club, the best one in the whole base. And everybody used to come to our officers club, the Marines, the Air Force, anybody who was around there came to our club at night. It was, don't picture a big club, maybe there'd be 15 or 20 people there each night. Oh, a funny thing is, you know, Roger Staubach, the football player, he used to come to our club. He was a medical supply officer down the line with one of the other battalions, and he used to come to our club almost every night.
Did you have any entertainers come to you?
Well,
Your base?
we only had entertainment at Christmas time. And at Christmas time, we had Roy Rogers, his wife Dale Evans, and Martha Ray. Oh, I have a funny story to tell about that. I was the one sent up to Da Nang to get our allotments, who we were going to get for our entertainment for Christmas. So actually, we had very little choice. They more or less told us who we were getting. And I went back and told them that. I said, we're getting Roy Rogers and Martha Ray and Dale Evans. They said, well, wasn't there any choice? I said, yeah, we could have got Aunt Margaret. But I said, who wants Aunt Margaret? They wanted to kill me, but I knew I was only kidding. I told them I was only kidding.
Okay, when you had leave, where did you go and what did you do?
Well, when you're over there, you get what they call R&R, which is rest and recreation. And I had a 5-day R&R in January of 1967. I went to Bangkok. And a couple of us rented a cab and we rented a cab, went 50 miles north up to the bridge on the River Kwai. You know, you've seen that movie? And the movie wasn't filmed there, but the location was exactly like the movie, with the hill in the background, and the water happened to be down the day we were there, just like in the movie. The guy told us it goes up and down like that, just like the movie. And it was exciting. And right next to it, there's a big cemetery. There was thousands of guys buried there. All these people worked on that railroad, mostly English, but a lot of Americans. I'd say thousands of graves there.
And you have pictures of it that we'll share later.
Yeah, I have some pictures of it, yeah.
Could you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events?
Well, very few humorous events. I mean, in a war zone, you know, you try to crack jokes and everything, but not many things were funny there. You know.
Anything unusual?
Well, unusual, I think, I was telling you about the Officers Club, you know, how at night we'd always ask, what happened to so-and-so, and, you know, he died, he got shot down or something. Well, one of the most unusual things is one of the fellows who used to come into the club, he had about 6 or 7 kids, always bragging about his kids. He actually crashed on landing, and his plane burned, he got killed. Landing at our Air Force base right at Chulai. So that was a traumatic experience. Another traumatic experience was seeing one of the a man from another construction battalion right down the road, mobile construction battalion 1, he fell asleep on the job. His equipment came over him, killed him. And he had a big smile on his face. I don't know, but that was an unusual thing he never forgot.
Did you pull any pranks, or were there any pranks pulled on you by enlisted men?
Not really. No. They never pulled pranks on officers, of course, and usually doctors are treated even nicer than regular officers. They treated you very fairly.
What did you think of the fellow officers or fellow soldiers that you served with?
Well, I was very impressed. You know, most of the officers were Annapolis graduates, or some of them went to the 90-day wonder courses, but we had 4 or 5 right from Annapolis they were all very good men. Never traded for anything.
Okay, that was when you left Chulai.
No, I'm talking about when I was released from the service. You're talking about when I left Chulai?
Yeah, well, I'd also like to cover that.
Oh, okay. Now, Chulai, we came home by C-141. We came direct, a 24-hour deal. Went right from Chulai to Alaska, and Alaska to Rhode Island, 24 hours, which was a big contrast to going over, where it took us 7 days in a C-130, where we sat on the sides of the planes. You know, the old-fashioned planes where you sat on the sides? That's when we were on the way over. But coming home was a lot faster.
Were you happy?
I was happy to be coming home, yeah.
What did you do in the days and the weeks after you ended your military service?
Well, when I first came home, as you'll see in this booklet here, I was asked to speak at a few rallies and things like that. I didn't realize there was so much resentment to the Vietnam War by people. I didn't realize the veterans were getting harassed when they came home. And I was surprised when they kept saying, do you think it's a good place to be? Should we be there? And I spoke to veterans in a few places in the first month. Then I resumed my residency back in Waterbury Hospital. I had 3 months to go for my first year residency to complete it.
And did you utilize the GI Bill?
Well, I never took advantage of it. I never took advantage of the GI Bill.
So you paid for your own
I
school?
paid for everything. I've never even gone to a VA hospital or anything, so I'm one of these people that they did pretty well with me.
Did you make any close friendships while in the service?
Well, I had good friendships while I was in the service, but I can't say that I followed up on any of them since. You know, I went back to my world, they all went back to their worlds, I guess.
Did you join any veteran organizations?
No, I'm not a joiner. I don't have to.
Okay, what did you go on to become after your military service?
Well,
Did
that's
you
when I
specialize?
finished. Yeah, I specialized. I become otorhinolaryngologist, which is a doctor who specializes in ear, nose, and throat, and allergic diseases. For years I did surgery. Now and that was always America first, and I was very much. Well, I guess everything you do in life has an effect on you, and it affects your later life, and everything you learn or read about affects what you do in your following years.
And again, we're at the end of our interview. It's not even a full half hour. Is there anything that you would like to comment on that we haven't covered?
Well, we didn't look at our booklet here yet, but I'll show you this later. It has all pictures of.
Well, actually, let me see if we can zoom in on that a little bit.
Well, here's one. This is when I came back from Vietnam, talking to a veterans group. But there are pictures in here of the. But it's a booklet where each individual piece is captioned, so you understand what's going on.
Oh, you have a caption on each one?
Each one has a caption, or at least an explanation of what's going on. Here's
Okay,
about it.
I thank you very much.